Former Game of the Year Baldur's Gate 3 is universally loved for its in-depth characters, beautiful world, and intricate story, but most of all, for the replayability that comes with its character creation. In this challenge, I'm going to be beating Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode 12 different times, each run solo using each of the classes provided to you. This is Baldur's Gate 3, one class at a time. Hello everybody, my name is AJ and welcome. We are starting off with the very first class alphabetically, which is Barbarian. The race I chose for this run is the Zariel Tiefling, giving us access to Thaumaturgy, which gives us advantage on our intimidation checks, allowing us to talk our way out of many combats during this run. For the same reason, we choose Soldier for the intimidation proficiency. I've balanced out my stats to have the highest strength and constitution possible, while also giving us a +2 to charisma to help with those intimidation checks. With that out of the way, let's get right into Act 1. We start our run as any good solo run should, looting the Mind Flayer and chests around us, walking right past us, and shoving Lae'zel off the cliff the first chance that we get. We fight a couple of cultists, ignore Shadowheart, and loot everything we can, before we enter the Helm and kill everything we can for that sweet juicy XP before we get out of here. We also pick up the Void Bulb scattered around the room just to have access to them later. We kill the Mind Flayer off the beach and scare off some bandits to get enough XP before level 2 before we start the goblin fight in front of the Grove, which we almost immediately wipe to. Now I'm no sadist or anywhere near good enough at this game to reset every time we wipe, so we will be continuing this campaign in Dishonor mode. Our second attempt starts off much better, but unfortunately is not quite enough. Our third run ends before we can get a single kill. But with the RNG gods on our side, attempt 4 is successful. We loot some goblins, then stand back and let Aridin knock out Zevlor for a trick to get some free loot. By toggling non-lethal attacks and knocking out already unconscious Zevlor, we can loot his body without anybody finding out. We stop by a merchant and sell our useless gear to buy a Ring of Flinging, which will be useful later on. We walk up to this hay bale and fail the investigation check behind the child for some free XP. We stop by Volo to buy another ring, the Whispering Promise, wake up a bear, and talk to a girl about Nettie for some extra XP. We convince Kaga not to kill a child, and steal the parasite from Nettie before leaving the Druid's Grove. We go to steal a pouch for some spiders, and get stopped by Raphael. Still not entirely sure how his questline works, but we tell him to piss off and get back on our way. We tell the adventurers in the road to go avenge their friend, and consume his Mind Flayer tadpole for the extra Illithid power and a bonus 30 XP. We get the quest from Aridin, and go pick up the Goodest Boy Scratch. We won't use him in this run, but he still deserves to come to camp. We intimidate our way out of a fight, which gives us just enough XP for level 3. For our subclass, we choose the Berserker, essentially giving us an extra attack at level 3. We fail to get a couple of orcs on our side. Then we enter a house, steal a key, a dagger, and read a book for some extra XP. We use that key to get into the cellar of another house, ignoring Shovel and talking through a mirror to get us access to another room. Plenty of loot and another book to read for some more XP. We talk our way out of one more fight before heading down to the goblin camp. We tell Shadowheart to leave us alone, boo Volo off the stage, and convince the goblins at the gate that we need an audience with Priestess Gut. We let her brand us and tell her we'd like to meet in private. This will be important later. We accidentally start a fight with some goblins at the torture rack, which we fortunately survive, before consenting to this guy's weird sadist ritual for a nice permanent buff. We convince this goblin to let us free Volo before going to save Halsin, the second big fight of the run. The first few fights go about as well as expected. The children escape, and despite Halsin's best efforts and blowing himself up once, we wipe quite a few times. But then I had an epiphany. In my strategy-based game, what if instead of brute forcing it, we tried implementing strategy? We set up one of the Void Bulbs from the Nautiloid and throw an Alchemist Fire at it to deal with the children, and with some lucky initiative and RNG, we're able to defeat the goblins. We accept Halsin's request and start heading over to Priestess Gut. We fail an athletics check so she doesn't take any damage to get her close enough to throw her off the ledge. I try to open the door to her quarters but realize I don't have any lockpicking tools, so we head to a merchant to get some. While we're here, I pick up the Bow of Awareness for the extra +1 to initiative rolls. We head back to her quarters and succeed a sleight of hand check to get inside. We talk our way past her bodyguard, and make sure to complete the puzzle for a little bit of extra XP, finally giving us access to the Underdark. We grab the waypoint and time this kill on the Minotaur for a little bit of extra XP. After failing 2 checks on Fowler Alluve, we use a neat trick to begin the Beholder cutscene without actually starting combat. From here we go to deal with Munthara. We convince her we'll totally help her to deal with the Druid Grove, and then shoot out the bridge from underneath her. Next we try to fight Dror Ragzlin, but we quickly realize that we stand no chance at our current level. So we head back to the Underdark to try and get the XP for level 4. After dying to the Bullet, we enter the Myconid colony and realize we forgot to pick up the antidote from the Blighted Village. We decide to head back and take care of some of the things that we've missed earlier on. We speak to the child so we can talk to Mole, talk to Arabella's parents, and she's stealing the idol by heading back to camp right as we pick it up. We give the idol to Mole for a ring that gives a really nice +1 to AC. We speak to the gnome in the Myconid colony and give her the antidote so we can get the Boots of Speed. We show the Duergar on the beach the boots, and start sailing towards Grimforge. By showing the Duergar on the boat the same thing, we're able to make it through no checks required. After arriving at Grimforge, we get enough XP for level 4, giving us our first feat, which we choose Tavern Brawler, giving us a really nice bonus to our throwing damage. We head back to the ruins so we can get Withers to respec into a giant Barbarian. This isn't helpful to us until level 6, so a bit of a mistake respecking this early. I didn't realize Withers was already in camp, but we got some XP and unlocked our Illithid powers. I grabbed Favorable Beginnings and Luck of the Far Realms, probably the 2 best Illithid powers, and grabbed Psionic Overload to prep for ability drain. We head back and try to sneak attack Dror Ragzlin, but after getting our butt kicked a few times, we decide to just push him off a cliff and run away to camp. We make a pit stop in Joachim's Rest to kill some gnolls and save Floric for a little bit of extra XP. We head to the Duergar blocking the Adamantine Forge, and after knocking one off, somehow auto-succeed the check to not start combat. We die and fail a lot of rolls before brute forcing our way through the combat. We push one of the Duergar off the cliff before the Herdmaster kills one of the Roth and jumps to the other one, giving us an opportunity to drop a bomb to try and push them both off. The Herdmaster didn't fall off, but we're able to just run up and push him off the edge of the cliff. With the Roth dead, we have no way to clear the rubble, so we go to buy a bludgeoning weapon. We fail a few more rolls and head back to the cave-in to unlock the Adamantine Forge. We get our first roll above 10 in about an hour to convince the rebels to fight near, throw the Scrying Eye off a cliff, and find this hidden room for a couple of smoke powder satchels. We start walking toward the Adamantine Forge and skip these traps by dashing 3 times before entering turn-based mode, giving us just enough movement to walk right past them. We pick up what molds we can on the way and sneak past these skeletons for a piece of mithril ore. We head down to the forge and insert the scale mail and a piece of mithril ore. We shoot the lever and make sure to jump back up before the platform starts to lower. We turn on the lava and can start throwing whatever we have in our inventory at Grim. Even things like bowls will do 34 damage. Once the Mephits spawn, we can just ignore them and let Grim take them out. Unfortunately, Grim died to the wrong type of damage and we don't get any of the XP from him. We're unable to hit the button to re-raise the platform, so we decide to go kill Nier for the free cast of Misty Step. We clear the rubble, and our first attempt starts off great. Just kidding, we roll super low in initiative and die almost immediately. But we try again. We save right after we blow up the entrance, but this stupid fucking gnome walks right into the fire and starts combat. I die, and die, and die again. I try heading to camp before the gnome takes damage, but we can't fast travel. I try drinking an invisibility potion before combat starts. Combat just starts as soon as it runs out. I try drinking an invisibility potion and getting out of combat range. Still can't fast travel. Am I really stuck? Did I really softlock myself saving just before the gnome walks into the fire? Do I really have to restart almost 8 hours of progress? No, there has to be another way. I keep messing around for a while, but then I have an idea. I talk to Lunkbug, and I'm able to stay in conversation long enough for the fire to run out and the gnome to leave safely. We quickly save, and combat with Nier can begin. Our second attempt genuinely does start off really well. We roll pretty low in initiative, but one of our allies succeeds a critical athletics check to not insta-die in the lava. Right away, we see one of the biggest challenges we're going to have in this fight: coercion. Both Nier and the enemy Duergar have a way to turn our allied Duergar against us, making the somewhat even fight into a huge mismatch. We drink our invisibility potion and make sure to get out of harm's way. One of our allies has to push a mind-controlled rebel into the lava, losing us an ally very early in the fight. After a few more turns, however, we get 3 extra allies to show up a little bit later on. The Duergar have some really good back and forth, where I make a few suboptimal decisions on my turns. Both sides pretty much wipe each other out, and it's just me versus 4 very low health Duergar. I'm able to take out 2 of them, but unfortunately I don't have enough health and go down to the 3rd. The next attempt does not go as well. I get targeted early and die. The attempt after starts off well. Our ally saves from getting shoved and we're able to dodge the first poison spray. We drop our last Nautiloid tank under the chandelier, an invisibility potion, and get out of main combat. We shoot down the chandelier and get great damage on a big group of enemies. We kindly ask the Duergar sharing our platform to go away, and after a few turns of throwing things at people, Nier is the last enemy standing. We take him out with one final throw and beat the combat. We convince the Duergar to leave the gnomes here and start looting the corpses. The most important are the disintegrating night walkers from near. With those equipped, we can head back to the Adamantine Forge. With Misty Step, we teleport back down to grab our armor and loot Grim. We head back to camp and sell some of our heavier equipment to Volo. Now it's time to prep for the hardest boss fight in Act 1. We head back to the Blighted Village and pay off the orcs for some extra XP. We start to head towards the swamp, but forget we angered the goblin camp earlier. We take care of the pack of goblins, using a special weapon attack, which I forget about and never use again. Make sure to take out the Beastmaster to get 2 enemies out of initiative, and we push a goblin off the bridge. With their numbers significantly lowered, the rest of the fight is easy. After we take out the pack, we go finish off the 3 allies that got called in during the fight. We head back to the beach to pick up Astarion and Will. We won't be using them in a fight, but we do need 2 companions with us for this next part. After collecting our companions, we fast travel back to the Underdark, clear out some explosive plants, and hop to the other side of a cavern before we head down. We see a group of cultists. We let them know they're worshipping the wrong god, and when we're confronted, we offer a companion as sacrifice. We do a quick fight to take care of Will, and earn a quick and easy 800 XP. Just enough to level up, send Astarion back to camp, and get back on our way. Level 5 is simple. We get an extra attack, which quite literally is going to double our damage, and a really nice kick to use for a bonus action. This time, we head to the swamp without a goblin fight. We don't intervene with Mayrina's brothers, and despite failing the insight check on the swamp, we can just attack one of the sheep to start the combat with the redcaps. We take care of them pretty handedly, the extra attack allowing us to kill the sages in 1 turn, and make our way to Ethel's hut. We make sure to tell Mayrina that Ethel killed her brothers, starting combat where she flees past the illusory furnace. We follow her down, and succeed an Arcana check to walk past the first illusory door. We take care of the 4 masks, again the extra attack putting in so much work for us. Next, we jump through a waterfall to the trap room. We suck it up and take some damage jumping this route down the branches, and finally get ready to take on Ethel. Our first attempt starts off horrible. We end up hitting the real Ethel and get overwhelmed by the amount of her clones. Our next few attempts honestly don't go much better. We keep getting hold-personed and killed without getting a chance to act. Despite its difficulty, however, the fight is honestly pretty simple. After 20-ish minutes of attempts, we save on a hold person and take care of Ethel pretty easily. We convince her to give us a piece of her hair, and we use it to permanently increase our constitution by 1, giving us a really nice boost to our survivability. We pick up all the gear we threw, and loot her back room before leaving. We just have a few more things to wrap up in Act 1, mostly for XP. First, we head to the Arcane Tower for some extra loot to sell. We loot this drow, and jump up this wall of fake mushrooms. You can succeed on some investigation checks, but I'll just show the route. We walk through this illusory wall for some extra XP, and we actually end up back inside Ethel's hut. After our pit stop, we make our way towards the tower, using the dash trick to make it past the first turret, and misty stepping once we run out of movement. We pick up these anti-magic flowers, we get told, "I'm way too big," but after a little bit of convincing, we get to enter through the back door. We activate the tower using the flowers from outside, we pick up some tin mask spores on the 2nd floor. On the 3rd, we try to kill a couple of deactivated turrets, realize we sold our bludgeoning weapon to Volo, and decide the 80 XP isn't worth it, so we check out the chest of the mundane for some extra XP. On the next floor, we pick up a ring to help with Arcana checks, read this book to pass the check upstairs, and end up getting a nat 20 for some XP from this locket, which more than makes up for the turrets we didn't kill. At the top, we tell him the quote from the book to avoid combat, and then break this stool for a neat weapon. We loot everything we can and head towards the mountain pass, our last stop before heading to Act 2. We succeed a few checks to convince the Githyanki to let us pass, and head towards the creche. We succeed a strength check to grab the cable car, then stand back and watch while the Gith abuse some halfling cultists. We jump through a window next to the doors, sneak past some kobolds, and make a big loop around to open the door to the monastery. We open the doors to the basement to enter the creche, intimidate the guards into letting us through, and go to buy an unbelievably expensive short sword. We'll use this later in Act 3. We also forgot to save the husband in the Underdark for the best gloves for this build. We head back to do that now, as well as pick up some other gear. We steal and break a chest for the haste helm, save Balin for some gloves that add throwing damage, and while we want the Caustic ring, we can't quite afford it, so we go back to Grimforge to get some extra loot and earn enough money for the Caustic Band. We head back to the creche, and after being operated on, we let Gustil leave. We can fight her and the others in the infirmary without angering the rest of the creche. We get our asses kicked the first try, but with the help of explosives, we get through the next attempt without much issue. We use the tadpoles to get our next important Illithid power, Cull the Weak, letting us insta-kill low health enemies and not needing to waste another attack on them. We convince the caretaker to let us have the Gith Egg, and head towards the classroom to deal with the youth. We try, and try, and try, and try again, to very little success. We try smiting the spectator. Death. We try kicking her off the ledge. Death. We try putting the headmaster to sleep. Also death. There's honestly not that much to say about this fight. I end up sitting here for about 2 hours and just brute force my way through with some godlike RNG. We pickpocket this Gith and walk into the room with Lakith for 350 XP. Now while we are only 1500 XP away from level 6, that last fight showed that any fight left in Act 1 is probably not going to be worth the time to get the XP needed. Only being a few steps away from level 6, we make the journey into the Shadow Curse lands, heading into Act 2.